Hello, everyone. It's your girl, Miracle Sims, and you're watching God, Sex, and Love. Tonight, we're chatting with Miss Vanessa S. She is a podcaster, an entrepreneur, and much, much more. So, if you're ready to learn more about her, then stay tuned.
Ooh, that sugar sweet, you got what I need. Sipping on the potion, all that good emotion, just my kind of heat. Keep it on repeat, tested by the motion, loving this devotion. Live it up, live it up, sweet emotion. Every time, every night, you and I on a roll.
Welcome back to God, Sex, and Love. I am here with the lovely Miss Vanessa S. How are you?
I'm fine, Miracle. I'm fine. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm so glad to have you here on God, Sex, and Love. Welcome.
Thank you.
Not too long ago, you had me on your platform, so I would love for you to share with the audience about that, as well as your lovely boutique, because y'all see these? These are some lovely earrings that she gifted me. So we have to learn more about your boutique as well. Just go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and where you're from and what you have going on.
Okay, so originally I'm from New York. I'm a native New Yorker, born and raised, diehard Giants, diehard Knicks, diehard Yankees, diehard everything New York.
Right.
Yeah, and so I had you on my show, Let's Just Be, the podcast, which is it's a podcast that I created for women that are in their 50s, that are not married and don't have children, because I wanted to create a community of that demographic, which I fall into as well. And as far as the earrings, the lovely earrings that you love, that's part of those are part of my signature earring line that I have. I sew, and as part of my retail sales store by Vanessa S retail, I have everything relating to the continent of Africa. I have bags, handbags, tote bags that are made with African fabric. I have jewelry that was made in Africa and Kenya mostly. And then those earrings, like I said, are part of my signature line. And what I did was when I make handbags, the scrap fabric from the bags, I send it to Kenya and they make the earrings from the scrap bag so that we're pretty much recycling the fabric and leaving a different type of footprint. So yeah, so after I create bags, then I'll take that fabric, send it to Kenya, they'll make earrings, and that's what you have on.
Oh, I feel so special. Shout out to Kenya. My virtual assistant is there as well, so thank God for technology. So hey, girl. Yes. Oh, well, that is amazing. I love that. Well, I love my multipreneurs anyway. I always talk to fellow entrepreneurs and everything like that. I love everything you have going on. I would love to, you can tap back into the boutique in a moment, I guess. But what I will say about the boutique real quick is that I love that what you just said about the zero waste pretty much is what you are operating in. And I think that's really cool as well. So shout out to you. Congratulations on your endeavors and your boutique and signature earwear.
I have to tell you that it's not a small feat, but being someone who likes to give back to community, I didn't want to do anything that was overly manufactured. So everything that I do, everything that I do, especially when it comes to the business in Kenya, I'm also working with another woman-owned small business that's in Kenya, and she works with the villages that are there in Kenya, the women there. And so the money is filtered back into communities, and that's what I really wanted to do.
That's awesome. Well, you're doing it. You are doing it, and that's great. That sounds awesome. I can't wait to learn a little bit more about that as well. But let's go back to the podcast real quick, because like you said, yours truly was a guest, and I felt very honored and everything to be on there and sharing and whatnot. And I told you, yes, you have to come and share with me as well. So, and be on here is what I mean. So, yeah, tell us about. I know you said that this is basically a lane that you are personally in, right? So, Was that just the inspiration, or what was the beginning inspiration for the podcast?
It started because, well, it started because as a woman that's in my 50s that is not married and I don't have children, the conversation is a little bit different. And so you have three types of people around you. You have, especially women, you have women that have been married, are married, and they have a family. You have women that have been married, may have a family, but they're no longer married, but they still have a family. So there's an outlet there, right? And then you have your single friends that are not married, don't have children, and then they're a woman of a certain age. Those women are the ones that you don't see or hear about too often. They're there, but their community, we don't have a real community because our friends are either married with children, married, or were married and still have children. And so our dynamic is different and the conversation is different. And so I can relate to a lot of things, but I can't relate to being married. But a single woman, a married woman, or a woman that has been married, that has a children and family, can't relate to what it's like being in their 50s without children and single. And so who would I have that discussion with?
It's real. I mean, like you just said, community is definitely really important anyway. Like, I think fellowshipping and coming together is one of those very important things, because I know one of the ongoing issues is that people feel alone, right?
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Like you just said, I mean, with you, if you didn't create this niche or this community, right, this place where people can kind of group up and talk, or whatever the case is, then the people that you, I guess, feature, or even or that you are catering to, would just feel isolated.
There's a lot of things that are different in the dynamic because of our demographic. So for instance, I had a matter of fact, the guest that I have that's for the podcast that's releasing this Sunday, because my podcast released on Sundays. She's an attorney, and we were talking about estate planning. Estate planning for a single woman is different than estate planning for a woman that is married or has children, because our tiers are different. And so there are some women who don't know that. Believe it or not, they don't know that the estate planning for them is different, or they don't know the dynamics. So for instance, if something happens to me as a single woman, I have a brother, but what happens to my stuff? If I don't leave it to him directly, what happens to my stuff? Or what happens if a single woman, they travel by themselves and something happens to them? Who knows what to do in that situation? See, the dynamic is different for a single person. And so this is what I want to bring out in my podcast, that, the dynamic is different. So let's have the discussions, because these are discussions that are important, but who do you have them with if I'm not talking to you?
Exactly. I know, well, singleness is something that I really, feel strongly about. I believe that's why you had me on your show, about my book and everything like that. And I had a hard time. Being single and everything like that. So, I mean, is it similar for you, or it doesn't seem like you're having a hard time? Just me on the outside looking in. It seems like, you good, but I'm just love to hear, like, how is it going for you and everything like that?
Well, I have to say that COVID has been extremely good because, so I'm an introvert, and as it is, and I'm very, when you get into when you're 30s and 40s, your tolerance level to things are a lot higher, right, than it is when you get in your 50s. That's when you really start thinking, I don't have time for this. And so dating is not something that myself, I don't go looking for. And so am I good? Yeah, I mean, I'm not bad. But I mean, if someone comes along and we click, I'm not going to say, oh gosh, I'm in my 50s, go away. I might entertain it, but the threshold of what I entertain is a lot higher than what it used to be. So no, I am good. But being single, it depends. I mean, it depends on for me, it just depends on what you can tolerate. I'm an introvert and I'm a loner, right? So I'm okay with being alone. But some people are not, and I understand that. And so again, that's part of the demographic. Because being a woman in your 50s, if you're single and you want to date, that's a whole nother conversation, because the dating pool is, you have a better chance of seeing Jesus, right? Because the dating pool could be, a little rough. And so, because you've got damaged goods and you have spoiled goods, and then you have, we don't know what goods, so it's a little bit different. And so I just think that, as for me, like I said, COVID, as bad as COVID was, it allowed me the opportunity to just be, with myself. And I'm good with that. And I think I came out on the other end of it stronger because, I my tolerance level, I know what I want, and I can be more intentional about getting there.
As you should. Yes, indeed. Like I said, I mean, it was a struggle for me, but I believe that, again, like you just said, it just depends on where you are, because it is a different thing if you are someone that's single and you don't want to be single, right? So then I think that's was one of those things that made it harder for me during that time and whatnot, during the cultivation period, alongside of my other issues. You already know about that stuff and stuff like that. So,
but Miracle, I think one of the things that's key here is, like you said, you didn't want to be single. And that was it. You were saying, I don't want to be single. I really want to be with someone. I think women in their 50s that are single, I don't know that they're saying, I don't want to be single. I think a lot of them are saying, I really want to have someone to spend time with, but it doesn't necessarily mean I want to be in a relationship with you. I think, we kind of look at things a little bit different. I know someone asked me recently about marriage, and they said, Vanessa, do you think you'll ever get married? And I started laughing. And I had to go back to my mom, because she used to, people would ask her, well, when is your daughter getting married? And she would say, Vanessa is not thinking about getting married. Now this was, 30s, 40s, whatever. And here we are now in my 50s. And I'm like, look, if I haven't done it already, I'm not doing it. I date. I will go out, have a good time. We can date a little, we can get to know each other, but I'm not sure that I'll be placing my, my hand out. I don't think you'll be seeing a post going, she said yes.
Look, now you never know. Now, look, God might switch that thing on. I'm like, oh, you just never know. He might be. I just feel like he is funny like that. Like, you know what I mean, in regards to sense of humor.
Yeah, so, it's kind of like, I didn't ask for this.
Right? You're like, what we doing here? Because that's what. Not say that's exactly what happened, but kind of what happened with my when I finally, and people told me this for years, and I just was always looking. I told you about me and how I was back then, but people always said, like, when you stop looking, that's when it'll come. And I'm telling you, that split second that I was like, I'll try love again next year. And I don't know about this. Let me try to get back to where, get back to where I used to be. Then here come my husband. And I'm like, what's going on? What's going on? But lo and behold, here we are. But I mean, well, I'm not putting that on you. I'm not saying I know it. I'm just making it funny here. But if that do happen, then I don't know, man. You might need to invite me to the wedding.
Look, if that happens, you'll be in the wedding.
Oh.
I'm gonna say you brought this on me. I'm gonna say it was you. This is because of you, Miracle. So guess what? You get to wear a puffy little chiffon dress, the color of my choice, and you get to stand right there, front and center.
Not the puffy one, with the puffy sleeves like
The
this.
puffy sleeves.
Oh Lord. Well, I guess I get ready mentally. We'll see what the Lord do. Oh Lord. That's hilarious. Well, either way, man, like I said, it's a beautiful, because I understand too, though, that, it may not be for everybody as well. You know what I'm saying? I'm not forcing marriage on people, because the thing is, I mean, wasn't Paul talking about singleness majority of,
Majority of his life. And I
yeah.
don't think that, and I don't want anybody to think that there's something against marriage, because there's not. I think marriage is a beautiful thing. Especially when it works, right? And when people realize and understand that this is something to be worked on and worked at. And I think that's a large part of the problem when it comes to marriage. People think it's something that they see on television. They get married and they had this great wedding and they're supposed to just walk in, everything's supposed to be bliss, but no one wants to really work towards it. So I think marriage is a wonderful thing. I just think, I can't speak for anyone else. When I'm looking at me, I can't see it, because I know how I view it and I know where I'm trying to go and what I'm trying to do right now. And I guess I just don't see the benefit of it for me right now at my age. Now there's people getting married at 70s and 80s and they're doing it. And I'm okay with that. I'm talking about Vanessa. No one else.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, it is, like they say, different strokes for different folks and everything like that. I mean, it's not a cookie cutter situation. I think one of the things when I was single, I was like, not say just learning to be okay with being single, but I think that was something I was learning along the way. Like I was learning to be okay with like doing certain things alone, and I talk about all this in the book. But the thing is, like, I guess that stuff was important for me to learn at that time, right? Because I not say I struggled with it, but the idea of like going to a movie alone or going out to dinner alone or something like that, like I was kind of struggling with stuff like that. Like, oh, I'll just order in, I won't go out, whatever.
Yeah, but here's the thing about that. It's not so much, and I admonish anyone to think of it this way. It's not so much of not wanting to be single. It's not wanting to be alone, right? Mm-hmm. So you would probably find with being single, it's like, okay, I'm not dating anyone. You just didn't want, it sounded to me like you didn't want to go to restaurants by yourself. You didn't want to go to the movies by yourself. You wanted to have someone to talk to. You wanted to have, conversations. You wanted to do things together. And that's not necessarily, you have a problem with being single. You had a problem with being by yourself, which is a little different.
Yeah, true.
Right? It's a little different. But I think that that's a problem for most single women that really want to be in a relationship. They can't be by themselves, or they don't see themselves being alone. I know I wrote in one of my writings, I started the chapter with the character was in the restaurant, and you know how you go to a restaurant and you're waiting to be seated and they call your name, and it seems like this particular hostess was calling their name extra loud and saying so-and-so seating of one. Right? And it was so embarrassing for them to say seating for one, so-and-so seating for one. And that's what really bothered them. It was like, did you have to let everyone in the restaurant know I was by myself? And I think that's how single women feel. And they make it feel like, okay, I don't like being single, but it's really that you don't like being alone, or you don't want to be alone.
Yeah. I do believe that had a lot to do with it too. And so during that time, again, it was like I said, cultivation period. It was a really growing time for me to grow to, being comfortable being alone, being comfortable doing things alone, being comfortable, even if it's just obviously me and God, but
right.
All of those things, just being comfortable, as well as like learning how to get to what I wanted, for example. So that's what it was for me. But again, so much admiration for people that are like just so comfortable, right? Like it seems like as if you're really comfortable in your skin, comfortable where you are, like contentment,
It's contentment. Yeah.
I know there's a lot of freedom that comes with being, single as well. Like, now I'm gonna just assume that you can tell me I'm wrong. Do you travel a lot and things
I
like
do.
that?
Yeah, I do.
You know, I don't have to worry about like, really checking
Well,
in with everybody.
prior to COVID kind of stopped everything. But yes, I travel a lot,
Yeah,
and yeah, I travel a lot, and I travel by myself most of the time.
I bet that's a really fun adventure. I know that's something that I've really been wanting to do more of. Like I've done some around the states. I haven't really gone outside of the states. The only farthest I've been is the Bahamas, and I know that's still, that's still technically, you know, U.S. territory, I guess you would say. I mean, but I would love to go overseas and experience other countries and even Africa and all, and everything like that. Hopefully, one day I'll be able to do those things. But I guess that's something that I kind of think of, when it comes to as much as I wanted to be on this side, right? But then you
Mhm.
think about like, well, during that time, I should have tried to travel more. I should have tried to do this or that more. And I did try. I did, but obviously that wasn't what I was supposed to do at that time. But so I guess I'm pretty sure you get this all the time. Like, do people assume that you are having regrets of, for being in the place you're in right now?
It's not, no, I can't really I can't really say that people assume that I'm having regret, but it seems like they have more of a problem with it than I do. And and let me share this. So I like to cruise. So I went on a cruise. Matter of fact, this has happened a couple of times, but I was on a cruise. That's one particular time, and it was during the holidays. And so on when Amy, when it's time for you to dine for dinner, they have you set up at certain tables, and normally they have, like, if you have a group of four, they'll put a group of four with a group of eight, then it's the whole 12 table. But normally when I go, the very first thing I do is change my seating so that I'm at a two top, so I'm sitting by myself. And because what I don't want is to be at a table with two other families, and then I'm the sole person, and so then all the conversation is directed to me. And so what I do is I have my table change. Well, this one year I was sitting there eating, and there was it was a whole family. It was about 12 of them, and they were from North Carolina, I live in North Carolina, and they were from North Carolina. And so the matriarch came over. I'm not the matriarch, the patriarch came over, and he said, "Why are you sitting here by yourself? Oh my gosh, come sit with us, please." And I said, "No, I'm fine." And he kept saying, no, but you shouldn't be sitting here by yourself, and we understand how lonely it could be. And he just started talking about how me sitting by myself was, he understood I was lonely and I didn't have to be. And he was kept inviting me over. And then when you look at the table, they're all going, "Come on, come on, come on." And so, and so, I said simply, I work around a lot of people. And so when I come on vacation, it's to get away from people. And so I'm good right here. And he was like, "Oh, okay, okay, okay." He was like, "But if you change your mind, come on over and you can sit with us." And so it bothers. I've had waiters, try to talk to me. And I even had one guy say to me while I was on vacation, how long have I been divorced? Because the only reason why I would be on vacation by myself is, of course, because I'm divorced. And so that's what I was saying. And again, part of the reason why I started the podcast was because these things, you can't make these things up. Okay. And so people have an issue with it more than I do, and more than my demographic would, right? I'm not having an issue with me being on vacation by myself, but you seeing me by myself makes you feel some kind of way, as if you should have some type of empathy towards the fact that I'm by myself. And so, yeah, it's not a regret thing. It's just that people are more bothered than I am.
Yeah, I get it. Now they're making, in regards to you in particular, they're making different assumptions. They're making
Correct.
you're alone because you're sad or whatever. Like,
Right. I'm
no, but
divorced, or
I'm on vacation. I'm living life. I'm living my best life. I don't need to come. But I mean, how can you say, like, okay, after the first time, it's like I don't know. I think maybe, who knows, maybe he had extra drinks that night. It was like everybody was
He
just so welcoming or something. I don't know.
No, they were in, but I find that, like I said, I've taken several cruises, and most cruises people go as groups. Either they go as groups or they're going, it's a couple or, sisters or something like that. So you normally don't see just one person. No, you do. Okay, you do. But when you do, you think that, okay, well, maybe the person that you were coming with couldn't make it. And so so it's something other than you're on this ship by yourself because you want to be, you know. and so, I mean, like I said, I've had people try to hit on me. One cruise I was on, the at the front counter, the front desk, so to speak, the guy said, he asked me like every night, he said, you know, what are you up to tonight? Are you doing anything fun or what are you going to do? And so one night he just flat out said, I'm going to send a bottle of wine up there or champagne or something for you. And maybe I'll come up there and drink it with you. Now, they're not supposed to do that. But I thought it was funny because after I got back off the cruise, a girlfriend of mine said, I read this article and I thought about you. And basically what it was is there are people that work on the cruise ships that offer their services.
Oh, no.
And I thought it was, I said, and you thought about me? And she said, yeah, because you fit that profile, that they're there because they're divorced or they're there as a single person or they're there, it may be a newly widow, something outside of I'm just a single woman on vacation, so yeah. And so yeah.
Yeah, got you. I mean, well, when you said that somebody hit on you, I was like, I mean, well, beautiful lady alone, but yeah, that's on a whole nother level. No, I wasn't expecting that part.
Because it's the way they view you. Yeah, it's the way they view. It's not us, it's the way they view.
Yeah, like don't just invite yourself to somebody's room. Like that's too much. Like, maybe somebody saying, oh, you're attractive, or hey, or something, saying hello is one thing, but goodness gracious, inviting yourself to her room. Come on, man.
Well, it's the assumption that I was looking for something.
Yeah. She just wanted to go on her excursion. She wanted to go her solo trip. Like, let her live life. You actually were just talking about trips and whatnot. Actually reminds me of this lady. She hasn't been on my show yet, but she's in one of my groups, and she goes by the coin Muscle Mom. And so lately, she's been taking like these solo trips and whatnot, and she doesn't tell anybody where she is until she gets ready to come back.
That's me.
So her with all these fabulous pictures. She's on the beach. She's doing this. She's riding horses, and then she's like, and I was here, by the time she comes back on social media. And I mean, it's something that, I guess I admire that y'all, being able to, just go on your own and do your thing. And I think that's beautiful. I think that's a beautiful thing. And there's nothing wrong with that as well. You know what I'm saying? It's just different aspect of life, different people again.
Well,
different ways.
If you ask most people who travel solo, the reason why they travel solo, and they'll probably tell you because they can't wait on someone else to go with them.
Mm-hmm.
I learned my lesson. Listen, I learned my lesson years ago, and it was something as simple as a movie. I had planned to go to a movie. I was going to the matinee to see this particular movie, and I was headed out the door. And my girlfriend called and said, hey, what are you doing? I said, I'm going to the movies. And oh, that's a good idea. And so she asked if she could come, but could I go at 2:00 instead of the matinee at 12? For sure, fine. I'll wait for you. 2:00 comes around. She's waiting on the babysitter. She hasn't arrived yet. 3:30 comes around. The babysitter's on her way, but she has to make a stop. So can we go to now the 4:00 movie? 4:00 comes around, I can't go because my child is running a fever. I could have gone to the movie at 12:00, right? Could have gone to the movie at 12:00, had gone to get something to eat, stopped by the mall, and went home. Okay, but I was waiting on my friend, and I took that with me. If I wait on other people to go somewhere with me, I'll never get there.
Yeah. Exactly. I guess I got a little choked up there about to laugh at that. A friend came back. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I think that's me in a lot of situations though, right? Because it's like business wise and everything. It's like you want people to go with you, you want people to do it with you, but I'm at the point where it's like, man, if I got to do it by myself, okay, so be it. Because
And people have different reasons why they can't go. I mean, if you think about it, come on, Miracle. How many times have you wanted to go somewhere and you couldn't because this one's schedule didn't line up with when you wanted to go, or it's too much for this person to pay right now? Can you wait until next week? And then by the time, or you can't even decide on where it is you want to go. Now you had a place in mind. I want to go to here, but no, how about we go here instead? So if you wait on people, you never will. That's how I look at it. And most solo travelers, most people who would travel by themselves will tell you, no, I just go. And if someone wants to go where I'm going at the time that I want to go, they can come. But if not, I'm out.
exactly, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like I said, I'm like that with entrepreneur endeavors and whatnot as well. That's why, a lot of things I was doing alone until now I got a little team behind me now, but that a lot of stuff got done while alone, so I get it. I totally understand. Man, because you're right, you won't get anything done. Time flies, and next thing you know, a year's gone by, stuff you still haven't done the things that you felt led to do. So yeah. Mm-mm-mm. We can go on and on about that. That's what I'm but just I don't know. So I noticed you mentioned earlier about like friendships and whatnot, and I guess this is what it got me thinking about in regards to what you just said and whatnot. Um, like I know that, for example, that there's friends that I've had for years, like friends that I've had since high school, something like that. But when I was single, right, and they were the ones with the kids and the families and whatnot, it's like I understood that different dynamic. They're not gonna want to go hang out, and that's the other thing too. I was in another state when they was getting married and whatnot, and I was in a totally different state, single and whatnot. And but then by the time I did move back up here, I was here, but then they obviously multiple kids at that point, married and stuff, and then I'm single and everything. So I just knew that there was like these different dynamics. Um, so I just never really expected them to, I guess, want to go or want, and things like that. So um, I guess I'm wondering like how I know you say that in your group there is like a particular conversations and whatnot, and I understand that it's different from the type of conversations that married people would have and whatnot. Um, but I guess I just wonder how the friend dynamic is for you in regards to any of that.
hmm Well, I mean, I have all type of friends. I have
Mhm.
friends that are single in my age group. That's actually my same dynamic. I have friends that are single in their 50s and do not have children. I have friends that are older than me in that same dynamic. I have friends that are married with children. I have friends that are married without children. I have friends that are divorced. So I have a range of friends. Yeah. How we treat our friendships are the same, but how we treat the dynamic of our friendship is different. So I'll give you an example. I know that I can call my single friend at 9 o'clock at night and say, hey, what are you doing? Let's go wherever I want to go.
Mhm.
I might just want to go for a drive, but I can do that with one of my single friends.
Mhm.
My married friend, I would not call them at 9 o'clock at night and say, hey, can we go to so and so? Now, if I had an issue, like if I had a problem, if something was going on, I could call my married friend and say, hey, I have a problem. This is what's going on. And that's totally okay.
Right.
Okay. Now, my friends that have children, whether they're married or not, I wouldn't be calling them at 9 o'clock for anything unless it was important, right? I might send them a text and say, hey, what you doing? What are you up to? Whatever, but I'm not calling and disrupting anything, right? So it's just how we treat the relationships, between us. Now, I'll give you another example. They're not my friends, especially my friends with children. They're not inviting me. They may say, hey, so-and-so, we're having so-and-so's 13th birthday party. If you want to drop in, right? But the expectation is really not there. If I do, oh, good. Hey, you came through. If I don't, there's no hard feelings.
Yeah.
Right? If it's something important, like a christening or something, they'll say, hey, we're doing this and we're expecting you to be there, and I get it, I need to be there. So it's just how we treat the relationship. So I have friends that are running through the gamut of demographics. It's just how we treat it.
I understand. I was going to say, like, about I was trying not to cough on here. Oh well.
Look, you're human.
Exactly. Yeah. It's I guess the thing with boundaries. I noticed that see, it's like you have a good sense of boundaries, but I'm sure that comes with wisdom.
It comes from learning. It really does. It comes from learning, and it comes from communication. I can't tell you that anything that I'm saying right now I would have said to you in my 20s or 30s. Matter of fact, when my girlfriend got married, I remember calling her house. I was upset with someone about something, and it was about 11:15, and I called her house. And we didn't have cell phones at that time. We didn't have cell phones at that time. And so I called her house. And I remember, when her husband answered the phone, and we were all cool and everything. It wasn't, there was no strangers. We were all cool. And he answered the phone. He said, Vanessa, this better be good. And, and I had to remember, oh, that's right. She's married now, right? So I'm not gonna say like this has it. I wasn't the person that I've evolved into is not the person I evolved into this. This wasn't me, in my 20s. It was still kind of me in my 30s. So I just learned.
Yeah, and that's what I say, because on one hand I was going to say that like I feel like you have a good sense of boundaries and whatnot. And that's something that I did deal with certain people, because it's like I understood that about my married friends and whatnot, but then it's like when I got married, certain friends would kind of cross some boundaries, and it's like, like why do you not get it? But then, it's like what you just said. I think maybe the wiser we get, the older we get, whatever.
And the older we get, and you have enough conversations, the last thing you want is for your girl to have to check you, and you definitely don't want. And vice versa. You don't want your girl's husband checking her. So you figure out how to work it out.
Yeah. That's a whole nother conversation to talk about free. Well, in regards to the podcast, right? Where can we find it, and more information about you and your boutique and everything like that?
So the podcast, you can download the podcast anywhere you get your podcasts. We're on Spotify, Pandora, Apple Podcasts. We're on the Amazon podcasts. I mean, wherever you get your podcasts, that's where you can find it. You can also get it at my website, which is www.letsjustbepodcast.com. So it can be downloaded there. So wherever you get your podcasts or the website, you can find it there.
Awesome. And then the boutique website as well.
So it is byvanessas.com. 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 And I just want to show, I know you went to the website, I know, but there's some things I wanted to bring out, because there's some things that So on top of the bags and the jewelry and the men's neckties, and you know that it's coming up, Father's Day is coming up and Mother's Day is coming up. So, go get your stuff. But I also, one thing I didn't know, I know that you don't know about me is I also do creative designing. And so,
Oh yeah, yeah, it is yours.
well, so I do make these coffee mugs. I design them myself and I make them. And so a lot of people, when they see them, they think, oh, okay, they're designed coffee mugs, but I designed them myself.
Oh,
Yeah.
see? Multi-talented lady. Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
And so with these, I love this line that I have, because what I did was I take the flags from the African countries and I make the design based on that. So like this is Sierra Leone's flag with the mountain lion. And so I created the design, and Sierra Leone happens to be the country of origin of my tribes. Yeah. And then the other thing I make that you may not have seen.
No, not on. Oh wow.
So these are Oregon pyramids, and they're
Mhm.
good for, have you heard of the EWF, like all of the electric, like you have all the wires and 5G and all of that? Organite pyramids, and I want you to look this up. Organite pyramids help to balance that negative energy. It's like a grounding. And so I make these. And so those are the other things that I make. So yeah, just other things that I make.
Cool. And I know earlier, so my bad. If I'm missing. I know you said you had a lot of endeavors. I know you haven't shared everything that you're into, but I would like to touch on this as well. So, am I correct to assume that you're an author, because you mentioned your writings?
I am an author. Yeah, I am a published author. None of my books are in print. Well, none of them are in circulation right now, but before I became all of this, I was a nonprofit consultant. Right? And I traveled the country teaching nonprofits how to write grants, fundraise, get their 501c3s up and running, organizational development. And so I wrote a book called Grant Me the Money, the practical guide to successful grant writing. And it's a book that helps you to learn how to write grants step by step. Right. So that was one of my first books. Then I had Denomination Doesn't Really Matter. So I have spring cleaning, clean the mental pollen of your life. So I am a published author. So that's one of the things that I do. And I was former publisher too for 17 years, a senior creative manager for a publishing company. So yeah, I have that. Now I have the educational component though. So I stopped writing technical books, but I have the online courses that I teach. So like I have an online course. Two of my courses, I have courses in Skillshare and Udemy and Thinkific, but I have one on the grant writing. I have one on essential branding for nonprofits. I have one on self-publishing. And then the other is, it's 4. I have to think. Oh, don't just write a novel, write a bestseller. So those are the 4 courses that I have that are available. I'm really a teacher at heart. I taught undergraduates, and if you can teach undergraduates, you can pretty much teach anything. And so that's what I have going on.
Nice. I'm glad I asked, because I might have to hook you up with my mom, because she's been looking for some help in that aspect of being a nonprofit and the grant writing and everything like that. So look at God with these divine connections. Thank you, praise God.
You know the card that I sent you?
Yes.
If you look on the flip side of that, it tells you everything that I have going.
Okay, cool. Yeah, right here. But then my son, don't let me hold on. I don't want to take a chance to be leaving off camera. Like, where'd she go? Well, is there anything else you would like to share with us before you go?
No, America, I told you this before. I told you this on my show, and I'm going to tell you on your show, right? That you know that this platform that you have is a much needed platform. The conversations that you have are much needed. We need to talk, we need to discuss. God, sex, love is more than just, get on here and think you're going to have a topic that's going to make you horny. You have a platform and you're using it well. And I just wanted to say that I appreciate you allowing me to be a part of it. And anytime that you want me to come back, let me know. I'll come. I'm here for you. But I do appreciate everything that you're doing. And I
Thank
can
you.
and like I told you, I already see where you're going. So
Oh, well, I believe and receive that. Thank you so much. I don't know, this lady trying to get me crying on here, y'all. Yeah. No, I do. I thank you for that. It's nice to get some type of like confirmation and validation every now and then because it's been very rare. You just never know. I don't know who's watching, who's and all that type of stuff. But I guess I just really feel led to just keep going. And so hearing things like that does encourage me to do that. So thank you.
and like I told you, don't worry about that. Don't worry about who's watching, who's not watching, because what's going to happen is the right person, and it only takes one. The right person is going to see what they need to see, and it's going to spread from there. And then you're going to say, well, wait a minute. I just had, at one point, I only had 200 people watching, and now I have 2,000 people watching. And that was just last week, right? So, you keep doing what you're doing and don't deviate from the plan. This is what you're supposed to do. This is your platform. We're here for you. And I just want you to know I'm very proud of everything that you're doing. And I support you. You know that.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And yes, you're welcome back anytime.
Thank you.
Miracle Sam's, let's go.
Thank you so much for watching God, Sex, and Love. And thank you to Miss Vanessa S for joining us tonight. I hope that you all enjoyed the conversation. Check out her and her endeavors. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Have a good night.